Wow, big crowd.
I know.
Should have dressed up. I'll go when I go, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Anyone recognize Doug?
Yes. Hi, Doug. Yay.
Oh, jeez.
Every day I gotta deal with this guy. Anyway, welcome. Play a few songs, and then we'll have an enlivening and non-political or threatening or triggering chat. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. I don't wanna leave her now. You know I believe in how. Somewhere to smile, she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in the style that shows me I don't wanna leave her now. You know I believe in how. You're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know, I don't know. You stick around and it may show. I don't know, I don't know. Something in the way she knows. And all I have to do is think of her. Something in the things she shows me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. I don't love you for what it's worth. So if you're leaving, can you hide? Cherry blossom, this is goodbye. Gone here lately and you fly. When I say what it's worth, the world tells you first, then you know what to worth. The world's on fire, so the world's on fire, so the world's on fire. Have you heard? Love won't let me please fall on down your knees. Love won't let me please either one. Know the prayers to make, the lovers made to be. 'Cause when you spoke to it, it only burns. The world's on fire, so the world's on fire. The world's on fire. Have you heard? Yes, I loved you. As a matter of fact, your furs are wrapped up in the sack. Lover, let me please fall on down your knees. You once made me smile when you strayed. too much to lose. My life in the empty breeze, my life in electric wire. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to you, to hear the way that the world keeps calling. My life to you, to show the way and I'll keep it coming. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to you. My life in the messy room, my life in the greasy girl. Too much to lose. My life in the noble cause, my life in the war machines. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to hear the way that the world keeps calling. My life to you, to show the way and I'll keep it coming. Too much to lose, too much to lose. My life to you, 'cause my life and my love stands for always. And our lives and our love stands for always. Any way that you want it now, just say the word, you can have it now. Too much to lose, too much to lose. Too much to lose. My life to you.
Yay.
All right. Did the Heat win?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Killed him.
They're sitting at home, buddy. Okay, any questions? Let's raise your hand. You have to be called on, sorry. This is young man.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the upcoming Zuzu shows at all?
It's just be me and Jeff, and that's it. I mean, we're gonna announce the dates, I think, on Tuesday. Do you have any more specific
They're all
questions?
in May.
Yeah, I think there might be more after that, but we're definitely gonna play 4 in May. I think over the 4 weekends.
Okay.
So, how we're gonna do it, we're still kind of figuring out the details, because Zuzu's generally has a no, for certain events we'll do like a preset package, so you're spending your money on tea and cake or whatever. We don't charge for tickets, so basically the show's for free, but to reserve a seat. What we usually do is we'll reserve so many seats and we'll leave somebody open, so it kind of becomes first come, first serve after that. Oh, this is Ben, my poster elf. Go back. Yes, sir, you had a question?
Yes, and I'm Jeremy from Fort Lauderdale, and okay, that was kind of a lighthearted question, so maybe, I don't know, I should get a little bit deeper, but aside from your family life, what was it like growing up or coming of age in Chicago, and how did those experiences lead you to forming the band?
Well, I think there's a couple interesting things in that question that may seem, at least worth sharing. One of which is that because we grew up mostly watching a lot of television, because like they used to call it latchkey kids, you know. Basically, we raised ourselves, or I raised my brothers, or whatever. So you're talking like watching a lot of Gilligan's Island and stuff at home. But our conception of the world was through television. And so if you can go back and imagine 70s television, well, Chips and, Charlie's Angels, like everybody in California was beautiful. Everyone that was famous was fabulous. There's like a soft kind of fuzzy glow in my mind of what those times look like on television. And even now, if I look at some of those things on YouTube, they have that kind of, maybe it was the way they were shot. So everything kind of felt kind of sort of idealized in a weird kind of way. Not too dissimilar from, sorry I ramble on, so you're going to have to pause your question. So I think that really imbued me with the idea that the world was a lot kinder and a lot more romantic than it really was. Much like when people would talk about movies from the 40s and they would go to Hollywood and realize it wasn't like that place. And that was part of it. And I think also then secondarily, once the band started, James and I in '87, and then the band kind of kicking into full gear in '88, we worked basically in terms of how the culture really works these days. We worked in isolation in Chicago. We weren't feted as an up-and-coming band by anybody other than really the guy who owned the Metro, Joe Shanahan. So we kind of existed completely under everybody's radar. So when we went to New York for the first time, say in 1990, or went to the West Coast for the first time in 1990, people were sort of shocked by the band we were, because not only were we very forceful in a physical way that most alternative bands weren't, which presaged the becoming grunge era, obviously. But secondarily, they weren't prepared for the way that we operated as a band, both internally and on stage. So we were met with immediate resistance because we didn't belong to any scene. And so our natural reaction was to say, well, fuck you. It wasn't inclusive, like, oh, you guys are really cool, you're different, welcome to the club. It was like, who are you and why are you playing solos? And you can imagine when we would be on bills with two other indie bands, I mean, Jimmy would just, whip the other drummer's ass out the door. I mean, I would be playing, and Jimmy would be, you know what I mean? We had Marshall amps, and so people weren't prepared for us. And so before we even got started, before we even made a first album, there was this kind of negative knee-jerk reaction to the way that we were playing, because we weren't playing the cool way, or because we were influenced by prog and Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, and it was like, you're not supposed to do that. So those two fundamental things, I think, really, the fantasy life of the band, which obviously came more from me, and then secondarily, the way we were reacted to when we went into the marketplace, made us have to make a choice, which is either get along or become more like we were, which obviously we decided to become more. And those two things really still embody the band. It's one thing that a lot of people like about the band. It's a lot what people don't like about the band, because the band, they don't understand the band, because the band doesn't, like the politics of the band, the ideological aspects of the band, it's like, it doesn't fit in. How does that work? So it's very strange that way. So, yes, sir.
It's kind of a follow-up question. My name's Sheldon, visiting from Canada, moving for the show tonight. And being from Canada, along with being a Pumpkins fan, I'm also a big Rush fan. A number of years ago, you were on their biographical DVD, kind of helping defend them against what you call the intelligentsia of the rock world. And just further to your legacy, in my mind, you're one of the greatest rockers ever, and your body of work speaks for itself. Since the new album, you've been on a number of radio spots and media spots, kind of defending yourself against that same intelligentsia. With the body of work, with the millions of fans across the world, many like us here in this room tonight, why do you feel the need to defend yourself so vehemently against that same intelligentsia?
Because I don't see people defending us.
I'll do it.
Look. There's a school of thought, which is, and I'm talking about any realm of life. I'm talking about if you work in an office. There's a weird thing that happens if you defend yourself. People are almost like, they're kind of turned off by it, because it's like, well, why are you defending yourself? Like, do you have something to hide, or it's almost sort of beneath you? But I would argue very vociferously that if I had not argued as vehemently towards the band's legacy in the public, I think the band would be pretty much digitally erased by this point. I don't think a tour like this would be possible. And look, when you make, and I'm saying this very generally, so please try to understand what I'm saying. When you make fans make a choice, okay, people don't like that, right? When we made people make a choice when we did our 20th anniversary tour, like, this is the band we want to be today. We lost a lot of fans during that tour in particular, because we weren't a greatest hits band. When I decided to carry on, basically as the only sole member of the band, trying to carry on what I saw as more of an artistic legacy than a personnel legacy, lost even more fans. But during those intervening years, sort of rebuilding the musical credibility of the band from the ground up with Jeff at my side, I think we're getting back to the band as it was designed to be, not the band that the fans tried to turn the band into. And it's a very, very difficult argument, and it's similar to what I was saying before. You meet these moments where it's like, you know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that what you're serving up is not what the audience wants. You know, I've played, whatever, 2,800, 3,000 shows. Trust me, if I'm 5 songs into a show and it's not what the audience wants, I can feel it. I don't have to wait till the end to figure it out. And that's when I look down at the set list and I go, man, I got 20 songs to go. This is going to be a long night. So, 1 second. So, look, if I had it to do over again, I don't know if I would defend the band the same, but having stuck my foot in it for as long as I have, I think something has happened now. Look, I went out in the 90s when it was very unpopular, and I defended Cheap Trick. When Cheap Trick was like literally on the ash heap of rock and roll, and nobody was talking about them, not only as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band, but a band that was a hugely influential band for the 90s bands. Yet they were being name-checked by a bunch of bands that were super huge. Why were they not getting the due that they were due from the press? Because they didn't fit in the cool thing, or they were from Chicago, or pick your poison on Cheap Trick. Okay? How many years did it take Deep Purple to get into the Hall of Fame? How many years did it take Black Sabbath to get in the Hall of Fame? Right? Go back and read interviews from literally 1988. I am defending Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, bands to me that the rock intelligentsia thumbed their nose at. Little did I know that one day I would be in the same position, and I wished other people were defending us. I can't tell you the amount of musicians I meet that are in huge bands that are like, man, dude, your band influenced me. Your band made me want to pick up a guitar. Your band Jimmy made me want to play drums, da-da-da. I don't see those people out singing our praises every day because we're not a cool band to defend. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, the Pumpkins are going to win. That's the best way I can say it. And if we don't, in essence, the band in this current reality dies because just the business doesn't work or we can't engage with it emotionally anymore. I believe the work will sort itself out. You could argue that the band would do better with the intelligentsia if the band would just go away. Because you wouldn't have aging people reminding people of why they were irritated before. Because stuff, I mean, you know, if anybody knows, I mean, stuff I say in these things get trolled, put on headlines, I mean, you know what I mean? I continue to be, thank you, I continue to be a hipster killer, and there's a reason for that. Not just because some snob in a basement thinks that, you know, only people who come from a certain part of the world or play a certain type of music are cool. I'm sorry. Rock and roll is rife with bands like Rush, Cheap Trick, and the Smashing Pumpkins, you could argue, that don't fit in anybody's thing, but they're just as important. In fact, you could argue they're even more important because they persevered beyond a system that's working against them. And I always say, go back and read the reviews from the 90s with these supposedly legendary albums. Those weren't good reviews. Rolling Stone, Siamese Dream, 3 stars. Melancholy and That's 2.5 stars. Supposedly our 2 most important records. The records that many of you are here to hear some of those songs from tonight. If you read those reviews, we should have packed up and gone home right then. And reviews aren't everything. It's really the relationship with the fans at the end of the day.
I think that's my point. I don't read the reviews. You're awesome. You keep making music, I'll keep playing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But there's a bigger, just to finish the point, there's a bigger game that gets played. Like, who owns the truth? Right? You see it in the political process. You see it with news propaganda. Who owns the truth? And from the first day I stood on a stage, I started seeing people trying to define me and who I was as an artist. Everything from my teeth, to my voice, to my lack of hair, to my posture, to the way I wrote songs, to the way I even composed my band. There were people speculating in the early 90s that the only reason the band existed the way it was it was a marketing tool, that I'd gone out and got an Asian and a girl because it would sell records. I mean, those were things that people were writing. The stuff in this current political atmosphere that we consider to be overt sexist and racist. We had to deal with that. Nobody remembers that part. Nobody remembers when we'd sit on an MTV interview and they go, so Darcy, what's it like to be a girl in a band? Yep. Think about that. So Darcy, what's it like to be a girl in a band? I mean, can you imagine? It's like, so our attitude was always, we're going to win. We're going to win. And in essence, it's a hero's journey in this regard. You fight to win, and if you lose, you die fighting the right fight. That's it. So if you die on that sword, great. It wasn't meant to be. It's fine.
Sounds like a song.
The young man died.
I'm Zachary Duckworth. I'm a singer-songwriter, and your music influences me. And I want to know, how can I find influence to write a song? Oh,
Well, I think when you're young, the easiest thing to do is to find music you like and try to emulate that music. But the thing to do is when you do it, know that you're, it's not ripping off, because ripping off is a different process. It's trying to figure out, for me when I was young, it was trying to figure out what was it that they were doing that I liked. So let's say I would listen to a Pink Floyd song, and the chords would be E minor 7, A minor 7, right? Or A major 7, excuse me. So I'm listening and I'm playing those chords. I'm not trying to write a song like Pink Floyd. I'm trying to understand why when they play those chords, why do I feel this way? So when I play those chords, can I take them in my own way and I can add my own little twist? And so that's a good place to start. So don't learn other people's songs to copy other people. Learn other people's songs to learn how the emotions work with you, and then you can understand the machine inside the song. Then when you write your own songs, and you start to understand, well, I want to do this because I want you to feel that way. And it's very fascinating. You'll find if you continue in songwriting how if you feel a certain way about a song, how if it's good, lots of people will have the same reaction to the song, which tells me that the human machine reacts to music in a particular way, and through certain songs you can create a certain feeling that many people will feel that same feeling, which is amazing, because it's like speaking a language, but you develop the language and they actually understand you. And that's the amazing part. So if you keep on that, you'll figure that out for yourself. Yes, sir.
How did you and James end up reconnecting, and how was
Not
that?
talking about that. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, not to be rude. I don't want to talk about it public.
Can I do spiritual questions? I know you're on a spiritual journey.
Sure. You can talk about whatever you want. I don't censor, so.
Well, I found an archive of your spiritual website, and I know you're writing your spiritual book.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm on my own journey too, but I have this question that could be probably for any musician or actor. But
Sure.
all right. Do you find it difficult to move forward in your advancement towards enlightened mastery with songs that reflect your past hurt, fears, and heartaches that are filled with negative thought patterns, and with people who approach you to relate to the negative emotions projected out of your sad songs, because like energy attracts like energy, that it brings you back to that negative state of mind, and if all thought and words are created and to be repeating the same lyrics over and over again with such emotion that is sort of like affirmations, which keep you having the same results in your reality, then hampering your growth of a true enlightenment. But if you're able to disconnect, does it become like a seesaw or like a roller coaster ride?
That's a great question. No, it is. It's a great question. For a while, I struggled with playing songs that I no longer emotionally connected to, but that the audience expected me to play, because they're obviously songs that are important to the band's history, and they of course connect those to the why they're there at the concert. And you'll see it tonight. You'll see people jump out of their seats like Jesus Christ walked on stage, because we're playing the song they want to hear. And then they'll be bored, the other 20 songs, and be staring at their phone.
It's so true.
It's true. Trust me, I look out and I see the glow. I see this guy all night like this. He must be on Tinder, right? So I struggled with, I'm not an actor. I wrote this song, pick any song. I wrote this song 22 years ago. And I don't feel the same way about the song. And conversely, the audience feels even more intently now about the song than when it came out. So they've kind of gone more into the journey, and I've gone farther away from the journey. So the way I was able to work that out on a spiritual level is to appreciate that I was able to create something that people are attracted to. And in essence, by allowing myself to enjoy their appreciation, it allowed me to sing the song for them. Where when I was young, I was always singing for myself, and I didn't care if anybody heard what I was saying, because it was more important to sing for myself. So that was a maturation process. To answer the deeper part of your question, I do believe in the law of attraction, and so if you're in essence embodying particular negative energy patterns or particular patterns and you see that people are attracted to them, the trap becomes, well, do I go back into those energetic patterns to get them to like me again? Because in terms of the vibrational construct of the general world, it tends to be a little bit lower, and the dumber the music, the bigger the crowd you tend to draw.
It's true.
It's true. I mean, when I play a song like Bullet with Butterfly Wings, and I see people reacting to it in a way that shows they have no understanding of the irony that me as a 49-year-old man am still singing a song about being trapped by my fame or whatever. That's a weird thing because they haven't gotten the trick, the point. In essence, they're not having the same journey with the song that I did. So when the record company wanted to release that song first on Melancholy, I was like, but that song's so dumb. So, but to make a quick, more spiritual point, judgment is a trap. Judging why people are attracted to things and then saying, I'm above that and you're below that, that's a trap. Appreciating that you found some level of connection and then you create harmony, that's not a trap. So in essence, that's a way to enter in the spiritual space. But in terms of my internal possession, I no longer hold those feelings. And the only way I can do it is kind of loop it around the other way to sing the song. Because I am no longer that guy. Now that said, I entertain the idea of doing kind of almost like a musical sequel to that guy, 20 years, 25 years on, where he picks back up the same machinery and comes back at everybody, but with the perspective of a 2016, 2017 mind, as opposed to the perspective of a 1993 mind. So that's intriguing to me. And it would be interesting then if I do that and I re-embody that spirit, let's call it the ultimate nihilist, which I once was, then would I then have a different relationship to that music? Would I feel enlightened by it, or I'd feel dragged back down into the morass by it? Yes, sir.
I have a question. It's not a trap question, but I heard that you give a guitar away to the person who is sitting front row, center stage, preferably wearing a red shirt. Is that true?
No, I'm more likely to kick that person in the face. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Just gonna stick Doug on you.
I'm really curious to hear your thinking before and after the release of, and I'm probably going to get butchered this, Pisces Scarlet, but Siamese Dream was such a commercial success, and you guys released an album afterwards that, I mean, I think anyone who's musically like oriented would say is not like commercial. I mean, I personally, it's my favorite album, but I'm curious where your head was when you were choosing that to be your second release, and where your head was after it was released. Like it was, review.
Yeah, sure. Well, technically it was the third release.
I apologize.
That's okay. No offense. Gish was the first, 91. Siamese Dream was 93. Pisces was 94. The guy from the record company called and said, you know, I think Nirvana had a similar collection out, and it was literally like, if people are going to buy that, then you're definitely going to buy this. Do you want to put together a B-sides collection? You already have enough material, or would you record more? I initially said no, and then I thought about it, and I thought, well, I could make like a cool mixtape. That was my whole approach. And I think what's nice about the Pisces album is it's actually a truer reflection of the way the band would have played without success being the carrot in front of our face. It's a truer reflection of the band's musical inner spirit, for lack of a better word. Where Siamese is like, we're obviously going for it, and Melancholy is, we're obviously trying to destroy it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Chief.
So you were talking about how you're releasing a rock album next, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Not necessarily. Do you have a lot of material to say do that again, like release one and then, on the next year or whatever, do you, like you did with Melancholy, and then, release Airplane Flies High? Like, would you have enough material to maybe make a compilation for a follow-up album?
Yeah, having material has never been a problem for me. It's finding an audience that actually is interested in what we're doing. And through the diminishment of the record business over the last 15 years, I mean, that audience has gotten smaller and smaller. And the shame of it is that, you'll do a tour where you play to more people than you sell records. So you're at a point now where 5 times more people want to see you play live than want to buy a record, which seems to me very, very strange, because I grew up in a time where it was the opposite. And the band was obviously designed to go record first, tour second. Now we kind of do tour, what the hell are we gonna do? Because no one's gonna buy this shit no matter what we do. And I don't mean shit in a derisive way. I'm saying it's hard to work in a studio for 9 months and everyone's out playing on the beach and you pour your heart into something and it comes out and everyone goes. So, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank you because Gish was kind of like the hook, and then the sign was beautiful. I remember when they first aired it on MTV, and it drew me in, and then I started questioning, like you said, with the truth and emulating the emotion, and ending up with melancholy and infinite sadness, trying to feel what you felt, like especially with Stumbling. And it's just beautiful, and I love the progression and everything that's going on with it.
Thank you. You have a question?
I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I do fight too, and it gave me more of a different outlook in the world,
Oh,
and to try and emulate,
That's a
find
great
out what
compliment.
you were feeling, dissect the songs, and then go like with Nick Cave, and
Yeah, yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Musician.
Thank you.
Type deal.
That's a great
So
compliment.
thank
Yes, sir.
you.
Strangest place you wrote a song and strangest inspiration for a song.
Oh, geez. I don't know, I'm pretty boring. I mean, I just get up in the morning and write. I'm not a stay up all night kind of guy. I tried that back in the day. It didn't really work for me. My best work is really, go to bed whenever you go to bed, get up, and the first thing you do is grab a guitar. So, a bit boring, but it's effective.
Nothing weird inspired you for a song?
I would argue that I'm an asymmetrical thinker to begin with. So if you knew how I really thought, which I rarely revealed, and hopefully my book would reveal more of my thinking process, I think people would be surprised that I'm just an asymmetrical thinker. I just was born that way. I play nice in public these days, but I mean, I don't look at the world the same. My father was that way. My family's that way. We're just genetically predisposed to distrust. And so we tend to question. Maybe it's also, some sort of gypsy root in there, but we have an intuitive quality. And so I think, if there's any message in our family, it's like, you guys kind of don't belong. Why are you so weird? You know what I mean? It's worked in this business to a point, but even then it's hurt more so, like, why don't you kind of get along? Even when you kind of join the rock and roll, the rock star club, it's like, why don't you just kind of get along? Like, why are you going to shut your mouth? Like, why you got to say stuff? I kind of get that vibe sometimes, even from other rock stars. It's like, I don't want to be in a fucking club. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I think there's bigger fish to fry, to use an old saying. And when I look at Jimi Hendrix and I look at John Lennon, they never settled. They never were okay with the version that other people were giving them. In fact, they tend to shirk that off and move on to the other thing quite quickly. I was even thinking the other day, people forget when John Lennon kind of went into his retirement phase for 5 years in the 1970s. He was very politically active. He was super politically active. He really stuck his neck out. The FBI started filing him, if you've seen that movie. You know what I mean? Imagine that today. For a guy as big as he is. The equivalent, what would be the equivalent of a John Lennon level star a few years after the Beatles broke up? Who is that person in our culture? You can fill in the blanks. There's not a lot of people would have the chutzpah to even go there. In essence, a restless soul doesn't take Rome's version of it and say, fine. A restless soul should look and say, this doesn't seem right. And then the real critic comes out, which we can follow because there's an authenticity and integrity in what they're saying. And to refer back to the young man's question, that's the point. I'm more interested in the integrity of the message, and if it kills me or it kills the band, I don't give a shit. I want to live, of course. I'd rather retire on an island. But as long as I'm in it, I'm going to report for what I see. And if it means a smaller audience, then that's what it means. But a man has to be able to lay his head on his pillow and know he's telling the truth. And I've at least tried to tell some form of the truth in a system that doesn't want truth tellers. Look at the people that get rewarded by the system that exists. Are you kidding me? Just ask you one existential rhetorical question. How many truth tellers exist at the highest levels of media in America right now? And how many people, because they're cussing out some other person, that's considered truth? That's not truth. Truth is going after the system and being willing to risk their place in the system to tell the truth about the system. So. Yes, sir.
Billy, as somebody who was incredibly influenced by your music growing up, it was interesting to hear you talk about making music and how people feel as a result of it, versus I've heard you talk before about how you also mentioned that, so today asked how you were feeling. Was it when you were writing Gish and Sanjin, was it about how you were feeling or how you were trying to make us feel?
Well, I think the calculus was, I'm going to go to a place that I didn't know I had to go to, and I'm going to try to translate in a way that will make us popular. Popular being based on the system that existed then, which is, can you sell out the 1,000-seat club? Like when we made Gish, we obviously weren't trying to get on MTV. We were trying to play places that held like 1,000 people, and when they came, we'd punch everybody in the face. Then when people like that band, and then we were closer to the sun, then we started thinking, okay, maybe we can get on MTV. And then you learn real fast, you better start writing pop songs. You know, so my way was to approach it cynically. So I'll write a pop song about killing myself. You know, oh look, I'm on MTV in an ice cream suit, like perfect. You know what I mean? So, yes, sir.
Well, the music scene now, basically, it's a lot of, in the pop, all that kind of junk. I don't want to say junk, but it's junk to an extent. Do you feel that there are any more, anyone who's left, who's next? Where do you go in a music world? So the top 50 is a bunch of gibberish electronics, and just where does the music, the rock and roll and alternative scene go? And how can you, it's becoming popular with your songs,
Right.
How do you do that now? There's no one,
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question, and for someone, yeah, and for someone your age to ask, it's even a greater question. Here's the thing: if you or somebody truly wanted to be rock and roll in the old definition, the Elvis on definition, right? You wouldn't engage in the system as it exists at all. You would say, the system is designed for you to lose. Even if you were the next Kurt Cobain or whomever, right? If you were that person, there's no way. There's no way. The system is designed to stop you early. If you think about the last sort of real authentic era of music where truth tellers were coming forward in waves, not just one person. We had momentum through the off the street. The Pumpkins had 4 or 5 years of momentum. Nirvana had 3-4 years of momentum. So somebody wasn't going to come along easily and say X. Now they can do it digitally. Right? So you'd almost have to figure out a way to build up a street power that has nothing to do with being reliant on likes or thumbs up. You'd have to figure it out. You'd have to figure it out. And you'd almost have to start from the premise that I'm okay if I never make $1. Because that's the sort of the way they trap you. Like money and or popularity, which popularity is the new trap, money was the 90s trap. That's the way they trap you. I wish, and I don't care where they come from, and I don't care if it's a boy or a girl or other. I don't care. I really wish that in my lifetime I will see the rise of another Beatles or another Nirvana that will just break that thing in half. I would love it. I would love it because it would also give us space.
That's how it's meant. If you're sitting at home and they were, look up his cover to Where Did You Sleep Last Night, that, similar to Nirvana's cover, it's something else, man.
Right. But again, it's still in a system, you see what I'm saying? And that's the difficulty. And it's coming out now that those social media systems are suppressing numbers. Now I'm not saying somebody's sitting in an office like going, let's subvert the alternative rockers. But they certainly seem to be promoting a lot of things that are antithetical to the community standard. So why are they doing that? Ask yourself that question. Yes, sir.
I know you say you're not really this kind of guy anymore, but when you used to get, and maybe still do, get upset or get sick of playing the same song over and over and sick of the people who just want to hear those songs over and over, do you ever just think to yourself and say, hey, everyone else does the same thing, the same thing day and day over again. At least I get to be a rock star and do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I always feel bad. I always feel like it's hard to feel bad for, like every now and then I'm seeing like a, real classic rock band who like The Who or something like that, but I'm like, God, this must be the 100,000th time they're playing this song, and I feel bad. And I'm like, you know what? How could I feel bad for them? They're The Who, or, like, so does that ever cheer you up? Like, do you ever like,
I'm not offended by the premise of your question, but your premise assumes something about me or people like us that's not true.
What's that?
That we're asking for your sympathy.
No, I'm saying.
No, what I'm saying is, if you really examine your question, it's look, your natural inclination, which is beautiful, is to empathize.
Right.
Right? That's a real human being up there. That there must be a moment where, pick your favorite rock star, they don't want to do what they're doing. And then the next rationalization is, well, why should I feel bad for them? No, the first reaction is the right reaction. It's a human being up there. We face every night people who do not see us as human beings. That is really messed up. And look around you during the concert night. You will see it. We are not human to them. We might as well be holograms. I appreciate that they're here, okay? And I could do about 50 things tonight that would make them like me more and be more likely to come back next time. I've gotten this far by not really getting into that politic too much. In essence, trusting that the message in the music, the songs, and the fellowship of whoever I got up there is more valuable than whether or not you or anybody else can empathize. And that's no disrespect to your question. What I'm saying is, think about it like this. Let me take you on a slightly different journey, because I want it to be a positive thing, because it sounds slightly negative the way I'm saying it. Imagine you could go back in time to Pete Townshend's bedroom when he's 18, or Robert Smith's bedroom when he's 17, okay? And you, like a movie, like, you come out of the mist, and you're like, dude, you're gonna help change the world. Really? Yeah. Think how incredible that is, that one human being can do something, can make a critical decision, which isn't the normal fundamental life, like I'm gonna go work for Sal over here or something, you know what I mean? They make a decision, they risk their entire future on that decision. And I can sit here and talk about them, and most of you know what I'm talking about. That's an incredible thing. That is so holy, right? But in this culture, it's being reduced to nothing more than a piece of paper or a commercial or something like that. You know what I'm saying? When we lose sight of the holiness of the artist's faith in themselves and or God or in humanity, or however you want to quantify it, when we lose sight of that, we lose a lot more than just that artist. You know what I'm saying? We have to have faith that those poets and those visionaries and sages and holy people can lead us out of our own misery. And Ritchie Blackmore and Jimi Hendrix and Tony Iommi led me out of a particular misery. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't